Okay, so our setup definitely starts with d6. We want to play e5, but we don't want to trade queens, so that's why I do this. And hey, here we go. We're starting to see this setup a little bit more. People have been playing d5, but I was going to say we might see pawn takes there. Bishop c4, so definitely a very aggressive approach. I think at this point, it's hard to refuse the free tempi offered by takes and bishop c5. So when these 3 pawns come up here like this, I think we're going to start seeing more of this. I would say that this is, you're not going to see it the most often, not even close, I think, but it's definitely the one that appears to be the most scary. So I do think it's the one you need to be the most careful of. Queen d3, knight e5 doesn't, I mean, it does allow queen takes queen. I still think it's, yeah, I still actually think it's a very reasonable move. But I think we'll play it safe and just castle. The nice thing is there's no castling on that side. We clearly see that this is the intention here. Long castle. I'm definitely liking knight e5 here. Technically, we are allowing bishop takes f6, so maybe not the best. But let's start with h6. Surely this can't be a mistake. Just may as well include h6. And I think we will go knight e5. And even though we allow double pawns, we're going to have the bishop pair there, and we're going to stick with pretty much the same moves from our system. Probably the most important move is the one we're about to see right now. I think c6 is just key. It's possible that knight g4 is a more direct approach and maybe a very good one, but I certainly think that what we're doing here is not bad at all. And we can take this. We can also develop this bishop. How do we want to do this? I think we'll take. I'm just gonna say most likely knight takes. So we get to play knight g4 here. It's not the complete end of the world, just because knight h3 saves the day. We can give this check and then take on g2. And I definitely think it's possible that rook g1 gets played, but we'll see. I'm trying to take this. Knight a4 would make a lot of sense. Clearly rook g1 wants to be played here. Let's give this check. I think we'll just retreat. So interestingly, he's walking into the pin here, but I think we can see why. Very tricky move. Rook takes g6 was threatened there. But yeah, I think our knight's going to get to e5, and yeah, we should have a pretty good position after this. We can maybe take, I suppose knight here is going to happen next. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I almost want to just go here and block the G file, kind of like that. I expect knight d3 here. He doesn't, and ooh. Possible that quite a lot of bad things happen here. Here there's rook d3, and the king is kind of escaping, but I'm going to try this. I'm not 100% sure what happens here, but the king definitely ends up in the middle of nowhere. I wish that was a more guaranteed checkmate or something. It feels like that should lead to something extremely good, but we'll have to settle for, I mean, I don't think it's a, yeah, I don't think there's a mate here, because anyway, there's pieces that can block, so yeah, I think we just take our material. This one should do the trick. And bishop g2, bishop e2. And yeah, we'll just sack for that bishop when it gets to d3. Take this, I guess. GG. Didn't realize the name was Scarlet Speedster. If only I had seen that earlier, I would have known that my opponent would be quite speedy at the end. And they certainly were. However, very far behind at that point. If the game was closer, that might have been a real issue. This, we're going to have to get used to this. E5, first of all, pawn takes. Yes, this is possible, but yeah, as long as you sort of hide your king on c7 and you should bring this knight back, pawn to c6, cover this, you'll be pretty safe there, I think. Not many people have done this. Nobody has done it so far, actually. And then bishop here, it's just, yeah, at this point, black's already better. Knight e5 is such a good move. Black already has a huge advantage, and I think most importantly, c6. Keeping the knight out of d5 is so key. And yeah, after this, I think black is just much better. But yeah, just important to remember the move order. Philidor. With black, it's a little bit more important to remember the move order. With white, I think you can get away with things a little bit better. I like to start with the knight. Okay, knight there. So that immediately tells us what we need to know about this system. First of all, knight b6, a4, immediate move. Like I would play, I think I'd play that move regardless. So the fact that we get handed tempi here, I think we're pretty happy about it. Okay. How do we want to handle this? Probably just with h3 and maybe knight h2. In general, you definitely want to play d4 when you see someone headed for this kind of stuff. But we'll see how we want to handle it. Knight h2 for now seems like it'll delay things for a while. Like knight f6. Still not 100% sure that's being threatened. d4. Yeah, d4 feels definitely like like when someone's attacking you, d4 is a move that even without a ton of calculation, I end up just gravitating towards. Like I just end up playing it because I need to. Like I need some play, right? Okay, I definitely think bishop e6 might get played there, or some move to just blunder this, and it does. Bishop a3 is pretty helpful. But there's still going to be an attack here, but I think the pieces for the moment do a pretty good job. What do we want to do here? Knight c4 looks pretty decent. So does knight f3, honestly. We'll go here. We do actually blunder the pawn here, but it's kind of my impression that as long as we are opening the position, that should be improving our chances. So let's go b6. I mean, it gets my queen into d6, and yeah, I think that alone is enough of a reason that b6 is very strong here, because queen d6 gets a queen trade, or it gets me this pawn. Either one are extremely good. And yeah, we basically played a h3, knight h2, and there was no more attack. or at least not one that he was able to manage to make happen. A6. Yeah, I think just bring this in. If the bishop moves, you're also dropping that, but on top of that, bishop c4 is coming. Okay, opponent just blunders big time there. And rook d8. Yeah, this will be the end of the game. Check. I'll bring the rook down here. Seems to be the move. And I think we just have a mate here. Knight f6 and bishop d3. As long as we make it on this diagonal, then that should be it. GG to JV. I think he played I mean, he's definitely, I think we've crossed a bit of a line into this 1400 rating range, because he's definitely playing just with his own ideas here. Knight h6, f5. I wouldn't say knight b6 was tremendous, but yeah, I felt very safe once we have this. Like, I have 4 pieces watching g4, so he needs quite the effort just to make it happen. And yeah, as soon as you have a moment, d4, it just doesn't matter what the move is. It's pretty much always going to be correct. And okay, as you can see in our system here, this bishop is never really a rush to develop, but especially if someone is doing this, clearly we have no future here. So it's obvious that we're going to be expanding on the queen side and developing it this way. And yeah, once b6 happens, this game is effectively over, because we are going to manage to get queen d6 in, especially after that move. So, all right, we're going to go with knight f3. Okay, interesting. We see d4. Don't see this move too often. We can immediately go on the attack with takes, queen here, and b4, b5. That looks interesting. In general, I mean, yeah, black's not really supposed to be able to do this, so I'm curious if that does anything. b4, b5. Takes, but we can also just go knight d2 and keep the threat alive. On top of that, we can go knight e5. It all looks very decent. Yeah, I think I'll play knight d2. Can go bishop b2. So this position is going to look a little bit different, but let's go b5. The knight doesn't really have anything better than simply retreating, and although d4 is hanging, I'm actually looking at knight e5 as potentially a better move. Okay, takes, take back. So yeah, the reason this doesn't look like any of our normal stuff is because obviously d5, d4 is not only rare, but probably not very good. Okay, I think we really should just take this. But we could play just bishop b2. I don't necessarily mind that. I have a feeling we might not win a pawn here, but we're definitely going to get a pretty good looking position. Because basically a6, whether I take or play bishop here, it doesn't seem like a move I can stop. So yeah, black's probably going to win the pawn back through some sort of calculation, but I don't think that it will be in his favor. Yeah, so e5 makes sense. Probably just knight back. This is a definite blunder, so it's going to be queen takes. And yes, we have to deal with this move, but I still think winning a pawn in order to move the king is, I think that's worth it. Could have taken with the bishop maybe and gone knight d2 to preserve castling, but we're in the end game, or at least the late middle game. There's no queens on the board, so I feel relatively safe. E3, probably d4. I also like a3. Kick the bishop away. Yeah, d4 is nice because it hits the pawn, which honestly I think can easily be missed. So I guess so far we're kind of seeing people's attempts to, you know, not let us play our standard moves. Let's try the bishop on g2 because it feels like my king needs to go here, and so I don't really want to block my bishop. Yeah, knight c6. Oh, actually, wow, didn't see that. I suppose we'll have to go here. Probably the only move. Yeah, I think we're gonna probably end up being fine out of a little bit of good fortune. Definitely could have been an immediate loss there. We have a couple center pawns, mainly a D pawn, and at least there's double pawns here, so I can try to play rook b1 and put some pressure there with d4 maybe to follow. I suppose we'll try this right away with rook f1. Yeah, this should be pretty good. Rook has to go to c7. Yeah, we could take, but something about this feels better, especially if g6 gets played, then we can maybe go for that. And if knight f7 gets played, I think we can just take it. Yeah, so I think this is helpful. We get to take. Getting a little bit fortunate with the moves here. Yeah, let's just take it. Knights are tricky in endgames. I can't say I'm that excited to play against a can't say I'm that excited to play against a knight. Probably pre-move this. Yeah. We're gonna have e6 here as a move. We're gonna get the win. Probably the first time I got really blindsided by a move. I was more just like developing, like, okay, you know, we did all the hard stuff. We won all of our material. Bishop d6, I have to say, I just assumed was sort of like a, you know, maybe he's gonna play a3, kick me out anyway type of move. But there was admittedly a little bit more to it than that. And yeah, not too bad. You know, it's funny, king e2 is a routine move, but it's quite possible that king d2, not giving up another pawn with check, was actually better. Never really occurred to me, but yeah, king e2 looks routine, but actually was the reason we ended up dropping yet another pawn. So maybe this wasn't actually as bad as we thought. We just made it bad by playing king e2. Yeah, not a very good opening, that's for sure. d5, d4. I don't think in terms of our system there's too much to learn from this. We haven't really got to see just the proper setup, except maybe the last game. But yeah, after queen a4, I'm pretty sure already that that black is playing off the back foot. So this looks pretty promising. But that's always going to be the case with moves that are a little bit abnormal in the opening. If they're not good, it's probably some good stuff you can play against it, but you will see it very, very rarely. Okay, I'll play d6 and I think knight d7, just because we do want to play e5, but we want to make sure that we can support it. So yeah, I'm going to play queen c7, and now I can play e5. Because if I played e5 before c6, white would play d4, and I wouldn't really have a way to maintain the pawn there. So anyway, I'm not saying like I'm totally against moving it, but generally if they take, we're happy. And yeah, we're just, I think so far, just getting our usual position, usual setup here. Okay, knight there is definitely returning to the e4 square because there's not really a threat being made at the moment. Not sure. Do we want to play h6 or not? I'm actually not 100% sure. I'm gonna bring our bishop back. I mean, rook e8, bishop f8 is such a staple of this game. Okay, so g6 is honestly a move we want to play, so I'm not too upset with that. Yeah, I think we can do this. Knight c5 was also interesting. I mean, there's h6 as well. Knight takes, I think f5 looks right here. Gain a little bit of space. I think we'll just go e4. And because we have so many, like queen e5, for example, is a really nice move to follow up. I wasn't too scared of this diagonal, but we have knight there, queen there. And even king g8 would be fine. Okay, so he goes back. Knight c5. It feels like he can go pretty quickly like that, so maybe let's play more modestly with knight f6. I think c5 is a pretty good move by the opponent, so I'm actually going to play to prevent it. Seems like a really weird move. Knight b1, knight c3. I could see him accidentally blundering, because I think he wants to put his knight on these squares, so I could see him blundering his rook, but then it's actually okay after knight c3. Genius. Rook d8. Getting our bishop out. This looks pretty good here. Well, I guess let's see how successful this endgame will be. This knight it kind of looks like it's rerouting here, if I had to guess. But even on c3, I don't think it's doing anything too dangerous. Okay, let's give this check. Curious how he responds. I don't know if knight g4 is kind of worth anything here. Knight on b5 looks annoying, but hopefully not the most. It feels like might be time to push the h-pawn. Yeah, I don't know. Pushing the h-pawn seems pretty reasonable. I guess we'll take this. We definitely want to attack this knight. I think this is the endgame we're looking for here. We have all our pawns on dark squares, so that's why we're feeling pretty good here, and this should be a pretty easy win. The knight just dominates this position, so... we get a nice win in there. Another good fight. Like I'm noticing a clear pattern. 1400s are, they're just up to their own plans a little bit more. Bit better speed. All in all, better play. Probably the first time I've really noticed that. Reading range to reading range. Because honestly, like, it felt as easy to go from 8 to 900 as it did from 11 to 12. Obviously, the 11 to 1200s are better, but they weren't that much different from the rating range before them. Whereas I'm seeing some big improvements here. Now, I mean, this is the system, right? Right here, this is the snapshot. That's how you want your game to look every time. Why did I not want to play immediately like this? Just because my goal is to leave the pawn on e5, at least for the opening phase. So if white goes like this, it's not a good move, but there's no way for me to keep this pawn here. And so if I have c6 in, then I can put my queen there. So I just want to make sure that there's no situation that ever happens. Like here, if white would play this, now I'm safe. Because now d4, I mean, yeah, I'm totally covered here. We can play c6, for example, queen there. But if I see this, I know that I still have to deal with this. I can't develop because I'm going to lose a pawn and I don't have time to support it. So I probably have to push or take. Pushing is a great move here. So white should never play like this. e4 is great. But for our system, I like to have the pawn on e5. So I'm playing in a way that I'm guaranteed to have it there, which is why I started with knight and then knight and then c6. c6, so I could play queen c7, and then once you have these three, e5 is always playable. Okay, definitely gonna start out with knight f3 as usual, and hey, our speed run is continuing. It's the e-pawn blunder speed run, and obviously at this point you can just kind of play whatever you want. Honestly, everybody keeps making that same mistake. It's weird. Yeah, we start with the knight, and people are playing e5 even at this level, as you're seeing. e4 looks quite good. Knight e4 also, never gonna hate on that. Queen b3, I don't know, it feels like we're spoiled here. I'll just go with the queen. Yeah, if anyone here plays openings where you pre-move e5, you understand the struggle. Just kind of feels a little bit safer to castle, so we'll do that. Knight takes, I think I can still take. I'm not too scared of these discoveries. None of these squares look particularly dangerous, so we're definitely trying to play king here ASAP. I don't really know what black's gonna do here. They're like mildly useful moves, like a6 g5, but otherwise, I don't know. He can't move the bishop. Can't really move that. This is very expected, mainly because I don't know what else he's planning. So let's just get the king to safety. It's feeling to me like pushing this is very difficult to deal with. But let's play knight e4 because I'm curious how he reacts to it. Queen g6 is playable. Does not look very safe, so he might play queen g7. But in case he does this, thinking that he's got that covered, knight c5 should be winning the game. So that, I suppose, was one moment that he could have made a mistake in. I'll take and support the pawn in the center. This double pawn, yeah, this definitely doesn't matter. In fact, probably helps me out. And he's a little bit hasty with this move. Oh, interesting. There's actually queen b6. Maybe we were a little bit hasty. I thought bishop b5 was winning here, but fortunately for him, there is queen b6. So that kind of holds things together, doesn't it? I think we'll still play it. Just may as well give him the opportunity to show off a nice move. Unfortunately, he sees the great idea, but he doesn't do it at all in the right order. Or not even the right order, it's just with the right piece. Yeah, queen e8 is going to be, because rook here, that's actually defended, but yeah, queen e8 will get the job done. Some better games. We're not seeing everything. We're seeing enough, but definitely not everything. I saw that we were hanging that pawn in the center, and I thought we had a nice tactic for him, but queen b6 would have held things together nicely. We may have lost him here, but there's not much to say. Like, the only thing I will say about this couple of games so far in the 1400 part of this speed run is almost every opening we played so far has been weird in one way or another. We had one guy play like an early d5 d4 straight away. This guy hung his pawn in the center. We've just had some very unusual setups, so it feels like every game has been a little non-standard. So this is probably a good part of the series to, I guess, just sort of see all the different responses that you could get in the system and how we continue to try to set things up in the same normal way. Okay, we're gonna jump into the next one, c4. So again, a little bit unorthodox. We're gonna play knight d7, just making sure I can fully support this pawn before throwing it in there. And I will play c6 quickly because I just want to be able, if necessary, to defend with the queen. Oh, mouse slip for our guy here. I think he's going to try to turn it into something good with the pawn. I respect it. We'll just play h6. It kind of fits into the type of position I think that we want to play. Definitely very bold, considering bishop takes is possible. Like knight takes h5, all of a sudden I'm considering. Yeah, so knight f8 watches knight to f5. Knight takes h5, though, is certainly the one that comes to mind. I don't think that it works. Some kind of bishop takes f7 and queen h5 at the very least. But yeah, sort of looking at knight f8. Bishop f8 would be a little bit more standard for us. But knight f5 just feels like one of those moves that you want to prevent. I don't know. Hard to say. Here, knight f5, is that Is that really something that concerns us? I can't really tell. I suppose I'll play this because it's the move we pretty much always play. So it feels a little bit better. And I think we want to open some stuff up. Yeah, let's play d5. At this point, I'm not really calculating what's going on in the middle, and maybe I'm not fully happy with it, but I'm doing it on principle, meaning I know for a fact if my opponent's doing this, the king is just all wonky, I must open the center. So yeah, I'm taking an isolated pawn here, but I'm not thinking twice about an isolated pawn because I know that I'm doing the right thing. Take here, maybe even with the pawn. Yeah, maybe with the pawn. We have knight d3 coming. Bishop takes here. This looks pretty good. We just won. We won a clean pawn there, and I think we can actually take this. I know it doesn't look like it, but yeah, I think this will work. So if the queen takes, then we just won that pawn no matter what. If the bishop takes and we take, then we've lost everything. But I think we can mix and match. Bishop takes, then trade the queen, and then that will present the same issue. So yeah, let's just go ahead and trade, and now we win the knight, and that should probably be GG. I definitely think e4 is worth playing. It's, yeah, probably the last move that means anything here. Not sure if we have any particularly good responses. This one comes to mind. Yeah, I'll probably do this. We could also maybe take or go bishop back, but we're at material here, so I feel like even though we're giving 2 pieces for a rook, we're up material, so we have to be okay. He's not willing to part with the pieces. Respect. Here. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe this is best. Maybe f5. Yeah, we're gonna be winning here, but still some conversion, I would say. A little bit of technique required. I think rook d8 makes the most sense. We're gonna need to play b6. He plays a5, we have that. He decides to trade. Probably makes, maybe objectively makes sense. Rook g6, we always have that. Can maybe give him a check first. Go after this one. Although I have to say, if he did that, I might have brought the rook back. We'll just go for a trade. I think it makes things easier. A little bit unlucky there, but whoa. He took my he took my pawn that I was that I was gonna move. That's probably the only reason we were able to get the win. Why did he do that? I'll never know. Rook takes b6. But I felt that he was, I mean, this is a nice safe move by us. Defends everything, so definitely happy to play it. A little bit unlucky. Yeah, he played king f1 because I was here. We have a nice king g3 move, but of course h5 is safer, but also moves a little bit slower. When we're low on time, I was like, I need to get a pawn to the end of the board ASAP. I don't have time to be playing h5. But yeah, he kind of had some speed at the end that he didn't let on too early on. That's the thing, as I said, we're moving up to the 1400s. Like, people have speed, but they don't always show it until the very end. So it's kind of hard to predict. I mean, yeah, overall, it wasn't a very good game by him because he got hit by what I can only assume was a mouse slip early, which is unfortunate. And then he was like, you know what? He brought his creativity out and he kind of made it happen with a little knight h4 g4 stuff. But all I can say is anyone who's just launching attacks on you, just open the center. I have to admit, d5 is not a move that I enjoy playing because the isolated pawn does not look good, but it doesn't matter what looks good. You always do it. You just do it. It's always the answer. And I was actually shocked after e4 that that things were still like a little bit difficult here, because we just won like a clean piece, so it should be nothing. But e4 was moderately tricky to handle, I think, because we're not really hanging on to a piece guaranteed here. So this was kind of annoying. So we decided to just go here, and yeah, I think this was probably one of the best things we could do. All right, we're up against the 1500 here. So yeah, we're gonna go d6 first. We're gonna take our tempo against that e-pawn. Can only expect knight c3, but definitely e5. A lot of people play. It's really bad, but yeah, people do play it. And just because of this setup, people are tempted into the move f4. So okay, we're in, I would say, main line here. Nothing to see. Let's go bishop e7. We can castle. Bishop g5 is not particularly dangerous. I think what I will do is c6. Really love controlling that d5 square. I'm just gonna take. We can take back. I would love to take back the knight. I always do, but in this case, knight takes would have dropped our pawn, so not ideal. Okay, I think you guys at this point are probably used to this setup. Queen c7. If we take with the bishop there, oftentimes I will just play g6 because we can bring the bishop back right away. It kind of, yeah, I think it kind of makes good sense. I think I will go knight c5. Queen e3, I'll go queen e7. I actually want to have my knight on c5 if possible. Ooh, okay. Was not expecting that. I don't think I'm too bothered by it. Let's go bishop g4. I think taking and doubling the pawns is a good thing. Rook d8 will probably be my next move. Rook d8 or bishop e7, one of those two. Yeah, definitely like rook d8 here. And where's white going with this? Almost certainly knight to b3, right? Yeah. So we do want to go here. I think the only the only thing is that in this case I kind of have a better option, but I don't know. Had there been a different move, I would have just played rook d8, taken. We have the bishop pair, perfect pawn structure. This knight on c5 is staying there, and all these white pieces on the c file are dominated. In this case, though, I think bishop e7 is going to win something because this rook is running out of squares. So even on f3, I figured if we take, pawn takes, maybe there's, you know, tiny f7 pressure. So what I think I'm actually going to do is just bring the bishop all the way back. That way we can launch a Kramnik investigation and be completely winning. Let's take. All that's happening here is I have a free rook, and then I'm just taking the extra random stuff that gets thrown at me. like if knight b5 here is another example, like I'm just going to take it. Yeah. So knight b5, it's like all you're doing is throwing stuff at me that I'm taking. I've won a pawn, I've won a piece, I've won a bishop now. At this point, I've won more than the initial rook that I was like going to be happy winning. At this point, I'm doing better. Okay, I think we are most likely going to be able to snag this rook as well. So let's go here. The rook will have to go there. Knight c3, rook takes bishop f6, and in all likelihood, my opponent's not playing rook h5. My opponent's playing rook c5, so can only assume that we'll win a full rook here, or he'll go there, which, yeah, we'll be able to win the material. Okay, not even taking the bishop. Dang. Let's go rook here. I think we want to get our bishop down, and this one should lead to some nice checkmate with the knight. There we go. GG. We're able to get a good one in there. At least a nice finish. I mean, knight g3 mate is some form of a smothered mate. Always satisfying. All right, we're going with knight f3 on the first move, always accounting for the people that want to hand us a free e-pawn. They are all over the place, truly. There's so many of them. Okay. I like to throw in this just in case knight there. While e5 is a great move, I like to be able to add that extra support with queen c2. Okay, at that point, it was a funny move. Just blundered a pawn. I was not expecting queen c7. Well, that would be a nice free pawn to take there, but nevertheless, we're just gonna go ahead and play the tried and trusted. Okay, e5, especially with the king in the middle, you've definitely got me interested in taking on d5 here. So is that something that we can do? Yeah, it definitely looks like it. I wonder if we can just play d4. I'm gonna try it. This is a move that opens everything up, but I think this is the type of position where you want to open everything up. Okay, so feels like we definitely need to take. I wonder if taking is the best. Because I guess there will be a knight c2 threat afterwards, which is a little bit strange. Like, strange to think that that could possibly be a concern. Let's throw in this check first. I'm curious how he's going to respond to that. Not like totally confident in that move, but I am interested to see how he replies. Bishop c6. I think we want to take just because it will retreat the knight. Like, there's no way that the knight does not end up retreating. If we take here, queen takes, there is bishop takes. It turns into a mess, honestly. Turns into a mess. This looks simple to me. Got to make the tough choice. Like, do you go queen takes? Do you go knight takes? I mean, it has to be with the queen, you feel, at this point. Okay, this looks like a very good move. Knight takes e5. But yeah, this is amazing that this works out here. Bishop e7, and we can't take that, and of course we can take this, but opponent is not going to be losing that much material. Shocking to me. We will continue like this, and it's possible that this does just win. a8 is hanging, which is what we're going to take right now, and not sure there's any benefit to doing that, so let's take. King d7, we just take here, and you know, this is defended just in case we were concerned about that. And also knight f1. So back rank mate should be off the table. We're going to take both rooks here. So queen d1 again is not actually mate here. It's extremely good, but not actually mate. So maybe I feel like at this point you want to set up the cheapo. Just wait for him to help out. Hehehe. I feel like the avatar that I'm using for this speedrun is very much a hehehe. But also, we're up so much material that I think it will just be beneficial to sack. Just take this. Oh, hey, we did get it to work. Very nice. Perfect. Everybody's happy. GG. Opponent never really got off the ground here. Way too many queenside moves. Usually in chess, like, you want a mix of both or predominantly kingside so you can castle. So I thought maybe we'd see castle because that's the only way I could really justify it. E5, I think takes, and d4 is the way to go. There's absolutely no way you do not open things up here. And yeah, I think this was pretty much impossible to navigate, and queen e4 at the end is important. I think this is the only win, but it is a win. Okay, we're playing to 1500, and knight f6, and free pawn. Not terribly interesting here. We just won that center pawn, and that's about it. Nothing much to it. Kind of stopping knight g3. I mean, I don't know if knight g3 was the intention there. It could just be moving the knight out of the way, but knight g3 looked pretty normal. Maybe time for e5, but I still don't really want to allow that for no reason. Bishop takes is quite the move next, because we're gonna get double pawns regardless. So I actually agree with my opponent there to do them, because the only other option is to trade the queens and still get double isolated pawns. So I agree, you may as well do it this way. We definitely want to play g6. Our opponent is going to try to use the g file, no doubt. The knight will be dominated by g6. The bishop will be dominated by g6. g6 is the feel-good move of the year. a5 would definitely be a strong move, but I think at this point we're doing well enough over here that we probably don't need to dabble on the queen side anymore. Although, hey, he was carving out a square for his bishop. Interesting. I see. I think I like h4, h5, h5, h4. These two pawns are usually how you want to handle a knight on g3, so we're gonna go straight for it. Queen exchange, I'm not usually going to be too picky. All queen exchanges should be good when we are up a pawn and when our opponent has those doubled isolated pawns. Let's go king f8. It feels good to get away from this, get off the g file in the future, defend the rook, because I see some pressure building up. Knight to f4. I think that's where we want to go next. Knight f4 is, wow. What a square. What a knight. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, knight to f4. Wow. Give that knight a round of applause. Strongest piece on the board. And we can follow up with f5 and maybe king to f6. I respect this move. I certainly understand it. I respect it. Okay, if he wants to trade on e8, yeah, we take back. He wants to trade again, I'm ready to take back, but no, he's going rook d1. Okay, let's go like this, knight e3, and then here I really like f5. The knight, just every square is dominated. So unpleasant. Most moves look winning here. I think I'm gonna go knight c5 takes. Might just take back, but I will take this bishop. So I imagine rook here takes. If he ever takes the c pawn, d2 should become a queen. Ooh. I think I'm actually gonna take that and put my other knight on f4. He's actually going to walk into a fork for me, but I was planning to play knight f4 regardless. Devastating effect, I think. So that was friendly. Hey, what can I say? Hanging e-pawn. This is, I mean, this is a 1500, move 3. I think the hidden value in this opening system is the fact that, let's be real, 20% of your opponents are going to hang the e-pawn. I'm at almost 1500 elo. It feels like it's been almost a 50-50 whether they hang the pawn or not. Obviously, that percentage will go down as your rating goes up, but for those like under 1,000, this has been netting me a free e-pawn to start the game, like almost more than 50% of the time. Okay, let's go. I find that this system works pretty well against the Caro-Kann. I've mentioned that a few times. Most people are not that familiar with it. Oh, this is a... Every time this has happened, I've played this in this series. So this is a rather unusual knight takes when we would have done queen takes, of course. But I guess all's well that ends well. That's good karma. I guess we keep hunting pawns here. Yeah, sure. Go for another one. let's keep up the greed. Maximum greed. I like queen b7 here. This is the perfect, oops. Do not pre-move this. He could play rook c4. Do not pre-move queen takes c2. So we end up getting a really quick win there. But obviously I have to highlight the entire time this series, I played a little too quick there. Just so used to playing h3, but I would say a much better move here is just bishop e2, so that I can always recapture with the bishop, c3, queen c2, h3. But yeah, this has been a killer. All these Caro-Kann games have been really, really enjoyable to play. Okay, we go knight e5 out of desperation just to make this happen. But no, definitely wipe that game from your repertoire, because obviously knight takes is just a blunder. So queen takes would hold things here, but that's why I think instead of queen takes, bishop e2 makes more sense, because we want to take back with the bishop, which is what we have done in the past. Okay, we end up getting an easy win. Okay, d5. And we're gonna get the standard e5 here. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go, yeah, c3, bishop e2. See if he wants to play a6 or a5. He goes a5. So if we push, the knight goes somewhere. We go bishop here. There's always bishop c5. So that's a very very clear reaction. I'm initially thinking of maybe playing this first. I'm not too sure about that. Knight c4 also comes to mind. This followed by knight c4. Not too sure. Definitely a little bit, like pretty much every other time I've played it, I think we've played queen c2 first. I don't know. There's just a few moves that I would rather have in the position. I don't think there's anything wrong with this, but yeah, there's a few moves I'd rather have. Wow, long castles. That is crazy. That's big energy. Respect. Respect. So if the bishop moves, yeah, we take that. So for that reason, I think we can do this because, yeah, bishop there. We're getting the a-pawn, which should be huge for us. So I think he'll go here. See how this holds up. We still have to get an attack going, and believe me, buddy over here, he's going to be barreling down with an attack. You already know. G4 is a guarantee. Let's go back because I know this is happening. We're guarding that pawn, so maybe helping with a5. And I think we want to play this one. Knight there doesn't make a threat, so I think we just continue here. Trying to open the A file for my pieces. Yeah, I mean, has to be a queen A2 angle. Now, obviously, this move is going to get played because he's trying to make a beeline for it. And the question is, what can we do about that? What can we do about that? I don't actually know offhand that we have winning sequence. But yeah, I'll just go here and rook down to a7. That has to lead to something. Plus, it has the, you know, added benefit of rook a7, rook a1, and queen takes b8. Okay, wow. He decides to make a run for it. I can't say that I agree with that, because you're going to lose this rook as well. Sorry, this knight as well. Ah, yes. Queen to c5. Incredibly annoying move. Also, this one loses. Here we can also promote and win material like that. And that should take care of things. That should do it. GG to Paolo. Hopefully only one more game. I'm not gonna lie, the 1400s. And to be fair, I'm in the 1400s. I haven't been only playing 1400s. I've played some 15, some 13. Actually feels like maybe the rating I've played the least is 1400. But the guys have been playing well, my opinion. Best section so far for the away team. Okay, so we're gonna go d6, d7. We can get e5 in now. Okay, that bishop means it's going to be a free bishop pair for us because they've got the fianchetto plus bishop g5, so nice and easy there. Okay, we'll gain a little bit of space with the a-pawn, not too important. Okay, yeah, let's go a4. I'm happy with a4. He's also happy with a4, so that's always great when you and your opponent agree. I think this is happening. There's not much I can do about it. Let's just push. I would say most likely this is happening, but now we can just win this material. Nice a-pawn for myself. We can bring this bishop back. And I think we are pretty happy here. Yeah, knight a5 doesn't do anything. So not a move that we are worried about. Let's just develop. I think rook a8 is a very strong move, so I have that one kind of ready to go. Knight h4 doesn't look great, and that's going to be a knight for myself. I think it might be time for this one. Yeah, takes rook c2. We have b4. Probably numerous reasons why this is more than enough. Like completely winning, but still try to play the best moves here. c2 and with b3 next. So yeah, here there might be some sort of sacrifice, but I really don't think it can happen that fast. So yeah, let's go for it. Knight d2, bishop b4, or bishop a3. I'd say those are the moves we want here. And yes, we could have promoted, but let's keep both of the pawns. Now we guarantee ourselves to get a queen. That's a lot of pieces. Yes, it is. Let's take this one. We have two queens. Not the most ideal. But it's possible. We may have some hope. Oh my god, that's that's a mate. I didn't mean to, I swear. Okay, now the keyboard moment. See, it doesn't work. It's so weird. It's too tough, I think. We're barely gonna get this. At least we set the pieces up. We have to be happy with that. We set them up. Guys, I'm so excited for our keyboard to arrive. It's arriving, I believe, this week. But I mean, you can see the dilemma. It's insane. I utilize this feature the most of anyone, and it should be, it's not even like a discussion. It's like if you press the button, that's how things work, right? Like you under promote, that's how it works. But obviously, you know, I'm pressing it here and just queens show up. It's so common. This keyboard is absolute trash, or maybe just like the buttons on it, but the keyboard is costing me reset mates. I have a new one, it's on the way, but it got to be too much. I realized I'm just suffering for no reason. I'm the guy that could use a guaranteed under promotion the most. But once again, it feels like we're at the point where we just can't rely on it. That's not a good feeling. GG. Not much to say about the opening, just really easy setup. And yeah, anytime someone fianchettos, I've mentioned this a few times, and also plays the bishop out, they're just handicapping themselves. All of a sudden they have to give up their bishop pair because they can't go backwards and maintain the pin because they don't have a square to retreat to, and because of that you just get the bishop pair. Nice and easy game every time. Nothing special. Pieces go to the exact same squares as usual. In this case I just took the center because he was offering it, but I wouldn't say anything was too complicated there. All right, we're gonna go for d6, knight f6. And yeah, this is the moment where you do have to play e5, not knight d7. Just because if the bishop comes out, I have to be ready to play bishop e7. So that knight g5, I meet by castling. So yeah, we have this move once again. I think we're just gonna go here. We could go c6. That's another one to do. Yeah, I think I will go c6. The problem with bishop here is some people go knight there. Then they just like trade your dark square bishop as well. Basically trade these two pieces for those two. And it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But I like to keep a few more pieces on the board. Okay, queen c7. Same old, same old. We'll go rook e8 next. I definitely expect... okay, I was going to say I expect a4, but only a3 gets played, which means I think I'm pretty interested in playing b5. Okay. Go rook e8. Can only assume rook d1, a nice and easy habits move. So takes here, he might be intending this, winning my rook, but I also win this knight there. So do we call the bluff and just say, you know, that's a nice tactic, but is it actually nice for me? I don't know. He gets a rook, but I won 2 pieces there. I think I'm happier. Okay, well now I'm definitely happier. Here, queen e3, intending maybe rook a7. I think it does still work out for us, but it can be mildly concerning. I feel like the, you know, the good habits approach is to just tuck the king back into safety. So we'll do that. We'll do that. Now this looks much better and much safer. We don't have a king here, so there's no nasty rook a7 moves. Yeah, queen here, maybe queen f7. Looks pretty reliable. Let's go here. I'd like to threaten a checkmate idea. Check. Once again, we have this, but also bishop e6 now. And you don't checkmate a 1500 with back rank mate too often. GG. Yep. I've gone over it a few times now, but important move order, not knight d7 because bishop there hurts you. Here, because whenever the bishop and knight appear on c4 and f3, you have to be able to play bishop e7 so that you can meet knight g5 with castling. And then, okay, if d4, there's no bishop out yet, so we don't need bishop e7. And then, yeah, as soon as the bishop comes out, bishop e7. Then we get castled. Nice and easy. Okay. We're going with the same system here. It might look different, just depending on the setup that you're up against, but really it is the same thing. Let's castle. But I almost, yeah, do kind of like... a6 is a weird move, I would say. Definitely a strange one. Let's get some pawns moving over here. Bishop back to f1. Ooh, a5, terrible move. These squares belong to me now. Knight c4, queen b3. Starting to get a really nice light square control. Rook b8 makes probably the most sense. Queen b5, I do like. Especially because queen e7 defends, but then I can take and give him the tough choice of losing a pawn or taking it back with a g pawn. Both look awful. Note that b6 is not playable here. Knight d7 is not playable. Bishop d6 is playable. But feels like something's got to give here. Let's do it. See if our opponent takes with the pawn, and they do, which, I mean, is hard to fault that, but this position almost looks as good as the other one, I have to say. Let's go g3 because any pressure on the g file, I think we can handle pretty well. Let's go h4. I think I'll just play this. It looks like a very secure move. Queen needs to move. I think probably to d7, although we can definitely go back here. Let's keep the queens on the board. Can recycle over to that side. Ooh, okay, that's definitely a bad move. Very bad move because now my rook is active here. We will continue to recycle this queen. Queen to h5 looks very, very promising. And we're just all over the position. I told you guys, light squares. The light squares are killer here. We can go queen here, although he does have knight a7. But I think we may as well include it just to let him know, you know, we see him, you know, we're out here. Queen a4 and, you know, just establish dominance. Let him know we're here. And okay, yeah, he plays a different move. Understandable. I think this queen wants to go over here. If knight c6, I think we'll retreat or bring our queen back rather to that same square. This knight looks like one we're capturing, because my knight is so much better than the bishop, it's not even close. Rook to a1, this rook is terrible. It's almost like it's a damn shame that I have to give up this knight for this rook. It's honestly a crime. Ooh, I can see this one. All right. The only reason I'm not disturbed by this is it forces me to keep my knight, which I was honestly not feeling good about giving up anyway, so I can't say that I'm upset about that. I did miss it though, so shout out Shorties1 for the nice retort. Queen e6. But yeah, I'm not gonna be torn apart about it, I think. Let's take here. Yeah, it looks like all these positions should be pretty good for us. We're going to win a pawn here. It's possible we could have, yeah, kept the pieces on the board. Oh, wow. He's letting me keep the knight against the bishop. I do not like that decision. I do not like that decision for him. This pawn is just completely covering everything. Knight takes, maybe rook g8. So yeah, probably queen back to f6 and just take the rook is best here. And hey, we do hit 1500. Yeah, a bit of a delay. But all in the pursuit of the reset mate. Surely we get a pass for that. GG. And in this one, yeah, the early d4 doesn't really stop our setup. We still go with c3, still go with an early bishop e2, still go with that queenside play, and a5 was a poor response, and just immediately reroute this knight to c4. And yeah, I would say, what is it, move 13, bishop g5. We're basically doing that because there's not really any future for the bishop anywhere else. So before he plays h6, I think I'd want to play bishop g5, although there's no problem if you don't play it and they play h6, just bishop d2, it's fine, rook d1, whatever, because we have so much play here on the queen side with just our pieces. GG, and we claim 1500 for ourselves. Put a chessbrah flag in the ground. Very nice. Thank you for making it to the end of this episode of the Philidor speedrun. This opening has been super successful for me, and I hope you guys are experiencing the same elo boost. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and turn on post notifications so you do not miss our next upload. I'll see you guys in the next one.